seriously, it's just exciting, and then reading about your ministry, and it's neat to see what God's doing.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Well, I'll get started and we'll jump right in if that works for you. Great. And I've got the.
We can go in any direction. You can ask me any question, and we'll just flow with it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, hey, everybody here. I'm here with Pastor Matthew Barnett, pastor of the LA Dream Center and author of New York Times bestseller, The Cause Within You. Pastor Matthew, I appreciate you joining us today.
I'm so blessed to be with you guys. Thank you.
Well, let's jump right in. We're talking about Twitter and social media, and you are all about Twitter. I see you, and you've got, I think, 140,000 followers or somewhere in there. And what I hear all the time about Twitter is that it's a waste of time. And you're a busy guy, and you don't have time just to throw away. Where did you find that investment of your time is worth it on this social network?
Well, years ago, it was funny. I was actually speaking for Perry Noble. I believe it was like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And he had this little device, and he was sending out messages. I'm like, who are you sending messages to? It was kind of in the early stages of it. He was saying, well, my followers. I'm like, followers? What are you talking about? I was like, staff? And he said, no, a bunch of people all over America that just, I send messages to. It's kind of a way that people can follow the journey of what goes on in the life of church building and the life of a pastor and things like that. So I started it, and then we got a few people at our church signed up, and we kind of taught them in the back in the lobby of how to do it. And in the beginning, it was a way to just kind of transfer information about what was going on in the life of the church in case people fell asleep during announcements or weren't paying attention. They could check it out.
Yeah.
And then it began to really, truly be a journey, of, sending out messages and letting people know a little bit about what God was doing in your life. And then I began to realize that the great thing about Twitter is truly just being yourself.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can tell the difference between something like a canned comment or something that maybe you got from a book rather than your own life experiences, the funny parts. You know? And so I just decided to kind of unveil those type of things by using humor, by using events that are going on, and then using more of little principles along the way that we've learned in pastoring for 18 years here, and letting them know kind of the personality of the church. Sometimes I'll send out a message saying, you've got a church in the inner city when this happens, or when your ushers wear ankle bracelet monitors, or just fun things like that to kind of engage them on what it's like to pastor a church right here in the heart of the city, and yet inspirational things that we've learned many times through failure that will help people grow along the way.
That's awesome. And how do you balance your time in that? Because it can suck you in and take all of your time because you talk about being social on there and being yourself. How do you do that, or how do you squeeze that into your busy schedule?
Well, I usually put a lot of my comments that come to my mind or inspiration. I save them, and I hold them for a little bit. And there's sometimes comments things that will come my way. And one of the things I like most about it is I've had so many sermons. It hasn't really been a waste of time because I've gotten a lot. It's been like a personal journal for me.
Yeah,
like God will
just
kind of impart a word into me real quick, and I'll write it down.
Yeah,
and the whole sermon series will come from one simple line. So it's kind of like a journal where you store up all of your information and things that have been really kind of been imparted to you during the week, and then you can look back on and say, well, that really is kind of a direction that's going on in my life, and things that you hear. So to me, who doesn't like writing things down on a journal, it's been a way to truly track information down and use it as a way of creating sermon series and all kinds of stuff, or just sudden inspirations that you can look back on and see where God's hand and faithfulness was along the way of your journeys. So to me, it's been an unbelievable resource, not only to getting information out, but to reminding myself of the information that has come to my life over the course of a few weeks, and remember those type of thoughts that usually would get away from you.
That's awesome. Have you found that learning how to write in 140 characters has affected your preaching? Have you condensed your communication style at all through that just difference in communicating?
That's a great question. I feel that's definitely been, I think that's happened quite a bit, actually. My messages are only 25 minutes on Sunday morning, which is pretty short.
Yeah.
And the Twitter philosophy is a little bit along those lines. So sometimes I sit back and wonder if, being able to get a lot of power-packed information out in 140 characters has also played a role a little bit in adapting my message and getting it out quicker and more to the point, and leaving a lot more time for people to, just kind of sit on the edge of their seat and absorb 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And get excited about it. rather than kind of preaching way past a point
Right.
and trying to capture the information quickly.
Oh, that's good. That's good. What advice would you have for a pastor that's never gotten on Twitter and thinks it's kind of a silly social network? What advice do you have for them in just getting started? Where do they even begin?
I think they just need to begin by having fun with it, really. Letting people know your personality. My dad always says that people are more connected to your vulnerabilities than even your successes. And I think a lot of those vulnerabilities that we share, things that we've gone through, and also encouragement. I think there's just a lot of people that are looking for some of the things on Twitter that we've sent out that have been very successful in blessing people, not just getting people responding and things like that or retweeting, but some of the things that people responded to the most seem to be the issues of grace, overcoming quitting.
Yeah.
Those are two big things that people seem to really need in their life, forgiveness. And it seems like whenever you talk about quit, people seem to respond more than that. I think we live in a generation where a lot of people are tired and they want to give up. And so I think those are two really important things we've kind of stumbled upon that people deal with on a daily basis and are pretty intriguing to talk about, to see how many people out there. Also, it can be a great pulse to find out what is really going on in the life of your church.
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll send out, because people are people. The body of Christ shares a lot of the same concerns. So when you share something on a certain issue and it really resonates, you're thinking, well, maybe this is kind of the pulse of what is really going out there, or a case study of what's going out there in our nation. And I would encourage them to send out a lot of information, a lot of inspiration. Sometimes 5 to 6 tweets a day would be. I don't think that's too much. I think that's good. But just you don't have to live according to a regimen. You live when you're inspired. You send things when you feel like you have something to say. And I think that's the key, is sending things out when you feel like you have something to say, not just feeling like it's a schedule or an obligation or something you've got to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great points. And we'll wrap up with this question. Do you have any favorite Twitter moments of your time on Twitter, or tweets that you've read or seen or been a part of, or one you put out there that you could share?
Well, the funny one, I've done some funny ones about awkward moments in church. Moment when this happens or that happens, or funny things in church that we don't really talk about very often, And I love sending those things out, and also one of the things we send out is church pickup lines, funny things that people say in church. And those things seem to resonate. But the things I enjoy the most are when you send out something that resonates in somebody's heart and say, you know what, I was going to quit the ministry. I people all the time, I was going to quit the ministry, but you said the miracle is beyond the one step that you think that you can take.
Wow.
Or wanting to quit is a sign of success because it means that you have something to quit. Or all the people that literally were waiting for a turning point moment, a turning point word. And it doesn't really take a whole lot to see our lives turn in the direction of a turning point. Sometimes it could be as simple as reading something. How many times have we seen somebody in great biographies that we've read something that changed their life, or somebody said something that impacted their life? So the funny stuff is great because I think people get a chance to see the vulnerability of the people of God rather than always having to have an air of perfection on Sunday. They get a chance to see that we're ordinary people with ordinary struggles, ordinary battles. But the things that gets me the most excited is when I see somebody say, my life was going in one direction, or I was debating whether to take a step of faith, and maybe send out a message that, for that person that really feels that you need to step out in faith, you find God in the unknown, or you find God when you go to a place you've never been before and you need Him. So I think it's those kind of treasured moments of people just say, hey, my life was impacted by that. It was very special. And then, of course, from here at the Dream Center side, with the hundreds of people that live here coming off drugs, alcohol, being restored, we've had financial miracles of people said, I want to support putting the bunk beds in for your men's and women's rehab program. And we've had people give thousands and thousands of dollars simply because they wanted to be a part of the journey of helping our trafficking home, or they wanted to help a lot of different projects. So, in the area of finances and raising money, you have to be careful not to leverage that too much. You can't be an ongoing fundraiser. People tune you out. But there are times in your life where you do have special projects. And because people have taken the journey with you, they're already invested in your heart, and they'll want to go the extra mile and help you accomplish some things to make a difference in the lives of people.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Pastor Matthew, thank you so much for joining us. You can follow Pastor Matthew at Matthew Barnett on Twitter. And we appreciate your wisdom and your insights.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate what's happening in your church. It's a total miracle, and we're blessed to be riding the wave of what God's doing there.
Awesome. Thank you.